Hi, my name is Olivia, and today I've got a guest that I will be interviewing today. I will be interviewing Afro Spiritual. Afro Spiritual is a hoodoo practitioner who specializes in ancestral communication and understanding. I first found Afro Spiritual on TikTok alongside with all of this wonderful and rich information. And of course, as always, I'm going to leave down below all of the platforms where you can find Afro Spiritual. As most of my interviews usually are, they're just talking heads, so you're more than welcome to just put us on in the background while we chat and listen to his podcast style. But without further ado, let's just get into the interview. I really appreciate that you're gonna let me interview you. I'm really excited.
Yes, it's gonna be awesome.
I mean, I ask everybody this. What's your origin story? Where did all this start? Where's the practice?
Oof.
Yeah.
I come from a family of hoodoo practitioners. Mainly it's passed down with the women of my family and everything. That's usually how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother is the one who taught me, but it's really interesting in my family, because in hoodoo practicing families, hoodoo's not openly talked about. It's just is. You don't call it hoodoo. It normally just goes by the words of just it's work or spiritual work, or it's just what the family does because X, Y, like this person, that person does this, and da 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 da. So it's treated very secretively. I didn't really know I was learning until it clicked. I'm like, why am I always sitting down having to study the Bible? Why am I always having to sit down and study roots and herbs and this and that and whatnot? Until I got older, I was like, Grandma, you didn't teach me hoodoo this whole entire time. And she's like, yeah.
So it's just something that's always been around for you. It's never been.
It's culture.
Yeah.
It's culture. That's really what it is. I mean, the backbone of all Black culture is hoodoo and some New Orleans voodoo and everything. But still, it's hoodoo. A lot of things that's done in Black culture goes back to hoodoo. Everything. Like a lot of it. And to just be born in a family where it's like, it's alive and breathing, the spiritual practice and belief, I consider myself to be very blessed, but also at the same time unfortunate because as a child, I couldn't get away with anything.
They always knew.
Always, still to this day, I could be sitting there like in emotional dysfunction and I'll get a call from my grandma or my mom, be like, what's going on with you, son? And I'm like,
I can't. Can you just get out of my stuff for like 10 minutes?
Well, that's the thing with the ancestors. They will tell on you.
They're chatty. They will tell on you. With that, I mean, I don't think this is in my outline, but I'm just curious if your practice with your family, if you have certain differences with other families' practices, like both of you practice same things, because I see that a lot with family practices or folk practices that families will practice the same thing, but they look a little different depending on who's practicing.
Well, it's just the influences of what made hoodoo and everything, because hoodoo at the end of the day is African American. It goes back to Africa. It is the African traditional beliefs that African Americans were able to hold on to, because I always say this: the oppression of Protestant Christianity did not do African Americans that part of the diaspora didn't do us any favors. It was harsher, it was stricter, we had to be a lot more secretive and everything, while the other parts of the diaspora had Catholicism, so they were able to hide everything behind saints. We had to hide everything behind the Bible, behind the church, behind Jesus. We had to. So at the end of the day, most families, they use the Bible in some way, but there's going to be some families that put more emphasis on the church and the Bible, where there's some who don't put that much emphasis on the church and the Bible. But also there's some Native American spirituality in hoodoo. So you have some families that actually put more emphasis on the Native American aspects in conjunction with the African aspects.
Interesting.
Some even put more emphasis in like working roots for magical purposes, while some would be like, no, healing first purposes, root doctoring, and being a treater or a midwife. It really all depends. Different families and different people focus on different areas of the practice of hoodoo.
Okay.
But all in all, across the board, working with the ancestors, same thing.
Yeah. Thanks for answering that. This question here is, where do you feel is your strongest ability or strongest area in your personal craft?
I've been thinking about that one all day, and I cannot seem to come up with anything. Because the reason why is because I'm like, I do real good with ancestral communion and guidance. At the same time, on a magical level, I know how to do prosperity work through and through quite well. Also, I don't advertise it and I normally don't give it, but love and sex work, I know how to work that through and through. I know how to fix a man and bind a man. I know how to draw two people together, draw them away from each other with ease. Yeah.
It's not easy work either.
It's not.
It's not easy.
I mean, maybe it comes with the territory of being a Scorpio. Who knows?
Maybe. Is that your sun sign?
It is.
Nice. I love me, my Scorpios. What's like a misconception that you face a lot about your beliefs and your practices? That you're like, oh God, which one?
Oh my God. A lot of the misconceptions. There's so many.
I know.
So many misconceptions.
I saw
Amongst
your TikTok.
Biggest contention, well, the biggest issue that I do face is arguing with people when they say that hoodoo is a open practice. That is the biggest one. There was a time, even if you scroll all the way back into my TikTok history, where I was trying to argue. I was literally trying to throw the benefit of the doubt because of cultural exchange with indentured servants and also impoverished white folks back then that learned hoodoo from Black folks. Tried to throw a bone to that at least. People are too disrespectful.
Yes,
and now I'm just like, you know what? If you cannot appreciate it or appreciate where it came from, I don't care if you lack melanin in your skin. If you're not invited in or go through the proper channels or anything or a mentor, it is closed. Mm-hmm. Leave it alone. It is for African Americans, made by African Americans. It is a practice and a culture that was formed out of slavery and oppression. Yes. It's closed due to ancestry and blood. You can be invited in. I've seen it. My roommate, who is my ex-boyfriend, by the way, my family still do approve of. They adopted him into the family. He's learning the basics from me right now because he was invited in. He's part of my family. Mm-hmm. He's adopted. My family's shade now flows to him as well. He's hoodoo now. It's just an example. It's about being, and yeah, it is a close practice. The other misconception, made a bit about this yesterday, that we don't have initiations. It's very subtle and underhanded. Most Black folks don't even realize that they're initiated and born into hoodoo and they don't even know it. I do my best to tell people that if you want to, now I don't mind people researching and learning and educating themselves to be more open-eyed. I don't mind that. It's just when it goes from research to where you're trying to practice, it's like, no. But when you research, you always have to do your best to look at a practice from the view of the people in which it was founded and shaped by. You can't throw your views on it.
Right.
You have to look at it from the views of the people.
Yes.
So, and that's one thing when it comes to research and everything. One thing I try to do on TikTok to try to give everyone context and perspective, but TikTok always suppresses it because they don't like that kind of thing. I always try to bring everyone's attention to the marketeered era of hoodoo, where there was a lot of appropriators and cannibalism from the white community back then. Still happens somewhat today, but not as much. Cannibalized, where appropriators and snake oil salesmen preyed on African American spiritual beliefs to make a buck. Diluted our stuff and everything. And we had to basically, as a people, keep up in the sense of like, well, you're taking all the people that I know I'm doing good work for. So you know what? That BS crack that you're trying to sell, I'm going to make the right stuff and then give it to my people. That way you could just get phased out of the whole thing. Because there's people that say that it's open because of like some white folks learned our ways and everything and da-da-da-da. And it's like, yes, but they learned because they had the solidarity of trust.
Right. Right.
There's a lot of unspoken history when it comes to hoodoo. And one of the main things about it is that you do become a walking lore keeper first and foremost before you get into the practice.
That's so frustrating to watch that just be taken, diluted, and then sold, and it's not even what it is. It's not even like the correct anything.
Well, the best way I tell people to be able to like differentiate is that between what is marketeered and what is the old way of doing. The old way of doing comes from like actually being a slave, being on the plantation. That's the difference. So you have to look through the eyes of, if I was on a plantation in slavery, how will I do this? Versus the marketeered era is after Emancipation Proclamation. There's more readily available. That's how you differentiate the two.
Okay, so you did mention that you do a lot of ancestor work. What is something in ancestor work that you find very important but really overlooked? That's another big one, huh?
Yes, there's two things. One, listen to your folks. Listen to your folks. I used to struggle with that a lot.
Living and past?
Living and past, yes, because the thing is, your ancestors can communicate in a variety of ways. One of their favorite modes of communication is communicating through living family members. And there are times that you'd be talking to a family and they will say something and be like, who is talking to me right now? And you just have to take that step back and be like, is this you or is this an ancestor? And it's a knowing that just comes up where it's like, that's an ancestral message through my family member. Okay, okay.
There's like a little bit of different energy when they're speaking. You're like,
yeah, very much so. I mean, there have been times where I'll be in the moment and my ancestors speak through me, and it'd be like, why does it feel like it's not just my voice, but the voice of many? Okay.
Where would you suggest that somebody starts? Because I know that there's a lot of people that want to get to know where they come from and their ancestors, and that's kind of like a big question of like, well, where do I even start to even begin?
That brings me to my second point, actually, which is, in times of doubt, always turn your heart towards your ancestors, because they're your closest connection to the other side, because the connection to them is by blood. That's the reason why. So when you don't know where you come from and you want to get into ancestral veneration, the thing is that you first need to recognize is that everyone has elevated ancestors. Ancestors that are beyond the BS, beyond the prejudice, and just the lower vibrations of this world. They're above the BS. They have their own opinions,
right?
But they don't force them on you because they understand that your life is your life. Then you have to understand there's unelevated ancestors who are still trying to heal from their regrets and their traumas and to get over the BS of this world. They're the ones that would try to force their views on you. And the energies really do come off, like one is lighter, the others can be heavier and denser at times. And it just depends on how you interpret it.
Okay, yeah, and you'll just have to kind of figure out who's who and who wants what.
But the one thing is that learning how to be able to, I call it activating your blood. It's because whenever I go into and like go to before my ancestors, I'm always like, my true and pure elevated ancestors. When I don't feel like addressing each one by name, I'm like, my true and pure elevated ancestors, blood of my blood and blood of your blood. For you are my foundation. You are who keep my back walking straight. Your body is to earth. I am the manifestation of you in today's time. The stars is you looking down upon me, be with me in this moment. Things like that. Like it's affirming, it's like calling them, it's like activating your blood in that moment. Basically speaking with them, understanding like, okay, how do you best want to communicate? Now, when it comes to like physical, like evidence kind of thing, I know some people have issues with like going to get a DNA test and everything, but I tell other Black folk and everything, my own people, it's like, just get a DNA test. And they're like, but I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, look, slavery and oppression didn't do us any favors. Well, what the hell are we going to do? Get the DNA test, swallow your pride, figure out where it came from. I tell people all the time, they're like, "Why don't have a room to make an ancestral altar, this, that, and that?" And it's like, honey, your body is your first altar. The Bible wasn't lying when it said your body is a temple and a vessel. The way you take care of yourself, the way that you venerate, the way that you walk, the way that you speak, the way that you do, you eat, everything. That is your first altar. That is your first connection to your ancestors. The way that you adorn yourself can easily link you to your ancestors.
Mm-hmm. When you honor yourself, you honor everybody who is before you.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful way to look at that. I like this next question. Are there any like workings that you have an outcome with a really good story that you're willing to share? If not, we don't, because I know that's
with a really good outcome. Goodness, I made a lot of mistakes.
It can be just like a very memorable outcome. It doesn't have to be exactly good, but
I mean, memorable. Memorable. I spoke of this story one time on TikTok because I needed people to understand that, like, don't do working that is not justified. That's the thing.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Because when I was in 8th grade, it was my year where I was transitioning from 8th grade to 9th grade and things like that. So I was in middle school. I had my ropes and everything. I knew what I was doing for the most part. I was being bullied in middle school for my hair by a white girl. I mean, I'm just going to say it like it is. She was white. And I was so pissed. I'm just saying, so pissed and so bitter. I mean, young Scorpio, not knowing how to constructively let out their vengeance and anger. Come on now.
Okay.
I conjured and petitioned the spirit of Nat Turner to go after her. And Nat Turner, if you're familiar with the Nat Turner Rebellion, he felt it was his divine right for freedom. And the way that he went about it is that he gathered a band of people, but in the South, he went and he slaughtered men, women, children. If you was white in any way, shape, or form, and you was in his wake, you were killed.
8th grade you was not fucking around. And so then
oh goodness. The thing is, I didn't realize the weight of what I did. I didn't realize what cat I let out the bag and everything. Because I thought it was just going to hit her. No, conjuring that spirit, you were taking out a whole family if you let him run rampant enough. I didn't realize that. Didn't realize that whatsoever. Like, grandpa, car accidents, things like that. Grandma in the hospital. Mom, broken bones. Dad, losing job, health deteriorating. Her out of cheerleading, broken leg.
Oh my God.
And I had to pay off the work, which I did, I'm not going to talk about how I paid it off, but I had to pay off the work. My grandmother cottoned on to what was going on, and she helped me to pay off the work. When I paid off the work, I was sick for 2 weeks, to the point where I thought I had to go to the hospital. My family thought I had to go to the hospital. But that was the consequence of drumming up such a vengeful spirit who is still vengeful to this day. His whole body have not been reunited and everything. His skull was just given back to his blood relatives, literally like 2 years ago.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, I want to laugh, but it's awful.
Yeah, and
but
that's
I mean, that's memorable, and I mean, you learned from it for sure.
Oh yeah, I learned to don't call up what you're not capable of putting down.
Yes.
Because I could have lost my life paying off the work as a child. I knocked on the wrong door. Well, no, I didn't knock on the wrong door. I knocked on the right door. I just underestimated what I was getting.
That kind of goes into a different question, but I'm assuming that would be one of the things that you learned your lesson the hard way.
Very, very, very much so. Very much so. Which is the reason why I now, before I do any working, I will sit here, like, regardless if it's cards or whatever, I will divine every single working before I even lift my hand.
It got to the point where I divine even protection spells if it's for other people. I don't, like, I'm just like, I need to, because even those things can go wrong very rarely, but like sometimes it you just don't know. So it's just always better to have like a second green light, from the team that's helping you out to make sure that you're not gonna fuck anything up because you
Yep.
think you know better, which
Yep.
is a lot of the time for me. I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing, and then
Hmm.
I don't. So that's
I mean, don't move before spirit do. Trust me.
yeah. That's a hard lesson for sure. Let's see. Oh, so what's something that you do daily that you feel like you incorporate your practice into? I mean, I know that especially if you grow up with this, like it's just something that you don't even really think about. But
Hmm.
I'd love to know if there is anything that you intentionally do daily for your practice that you'd like to share.
Whew. Goodness. It's also subtle. I mean, aside from tending to my ancestral altar every single day and everything, but it really has to deal with like paying veneration and respect to the ancestors on the daily and everything. Depending on if I have the means when I'm at work, I will feed, like portion off some of my food that I'm eating in that moment and put it to the side for the ancestors in the moment while I'm eating my food. And then I would dispose of it and everything in nature for the ancestors. Before I drink, I will pour out outside of my work truck, I'll pour out a little as a libation for the ancestors, and then I'll take a drink.
Oh, I like that.
It's incorporating ancestral veneration into every day, like making sure that they're well fed, they're not thirsty, they're always being thought about,
Hmm.
and everything.
And it's so simple too, and so easy.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I mean, you do that ritualistically, but like just out having lunch, like that, I think it's a really wonderful way to just kind of like add that in there, just like a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah,
And also collecting from nature. I keep
yeah,
pennies, like I keep a cup of pennies in my work truck and also in my personal vehicle. And if I see something in nature, like for example, if I'm walking, I'm like, oh my God, that's a hagstone. Oh, well, let me go get my pennies. Like 3 pennies. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and take that. Let's see here. Okay, it's good. This is not being used for anything. Is this okay in nature? What's going on around me? Any signs, any animals, any this, any that? Okay,
I think
it's
that's
mine. I paid for it.
yeah, yes, exactly. I know. I always ask. I feel like I didn't ask one time. It did not go well. Let's just say that. And it was like I think I don't know. It was just like harvesting something. I was like, oh, that's like a nice flower.
Mhm.
Just, like grabbed it. Don't do that. Maybe ask first. That's rude.
Yeah.
Very
There's
rude.
actually a way in voodoo, there's actually a way to be able to do it and everything. It's basically take what is needed, not in excess. That's a truism amongst everything. But when you harvest, you sit with the plant or the root. You thank it for its life. You apologize for taking a portion of its life, its portion of its ashe. On the part that you cut the plant or the root from, take a bit of your saliva, you put it onto the cut portion, and you either pray or you give thanks or you affirm that healing goes to that area so that the life of the roots or the plant can be promoted
Mm.
so it can recultivate itself. It's very animistic,
Yeah.
very animistic. You take a moment and just like have a moment one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's a lot similar to a lot of what I learned as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when as you grew older, learning everything that you did and more experience,
Mm-hmm.
how have you seen that change both your practice and just yourself as a person?
Whew, goodness.
That's a
Well,
question.
coming out of like actually coming out into this new paradigm and everything and whatnot. Um, how to say? I used to be very like two-handed, very two-handed
Okay.
and everything. Used to be very two-headed doctor, kind of be like, I will do good work and bad work. I don't, da 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 da. I ride between the light and the dark and then kind of thing. Coming into this new paradigm, um, one thing my ancestors have been showing me is that, not calling myself love and light or anything, but I've been stepping more into the paradigm of compassion, unconditional love, forgiveness, understanding, healing, things like that, stepping into much more calmer, even watered, cool watered, just mindset and everything. Only become a rushing torrent when it's needed. You don't have to be that 100% of the time.
No.
Just being a gentle flowing stream. It's stepping into that. I used to be very fiery, very fiery. Now it's like, I don't give my a shit unless it's worth my time. I don't speak unless it's worth my time.
And truly, I mean, the people who are always so calm but very knowledgeable usually seem to be the people that I would be more scared of, you know, like you know that they're not gonna, you know, come for you for little minute petty things, but you know, if you fuck up, like that's when you know that
goodness.
like they know how to feel, you know that they're gonna come for you.
I tell people all the time, I tell my friends all the time, I'm like, look, I'm a healer and I will support you first. I will hold space for you first. I'll be that shoulder to cry on and I will give you guidance. You do not ever want me on the front lines because the moment I'm on the front lines, whoever is in my way, friend or foe, you're going down. I remember one time when I got severely angry. It was on TikTok. Thank God I took that video down. But I did flat out say that I don't conjure the malevolent to come at you. I invite into myself and I become. You don't want me on the front lines.
I want to know what those comments look like. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I deleted the video a long time ago and everything and whatnot, and people were just like, that's old world work. That doesn't stop until the target is ended. I'm like, yeah, that's the reason why I don't want to do it. Don't push me to that point.
Right. That doesn't come very lightly either. So
because the consequences on your own being is like, cool.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're gonna pull that out, you know that it's for a reason. That
I've done a lot of, just saying, over the course of learning and everything, I've done a lot of effed up stuff. But I'm here and I'm blessed.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's sometimes the best way to learn, even though it's the worst experience ever. It's probably some of the best ways to learn because you know that when you make those mistakes, you'll never fucking make those again. And also you grow from that and you know what to do better.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it is. That's the reason why I say, look, being born in a practicing family has its benefits and blessings. Don't get me wrong. But being exposed to it at a very young age, even if you have people guiding you, you're still dealing with human emotions as a child, as a kid, in your adolescence, everything. After my whole, like basically being a practitioner all my life and everything, I literally do flat out say, I don't recommend people learning whatsoever unless you're age, starting unless you're like actually practicing, unless you're like age 15 to 17. Right. Because you at least have somewhat of a better head on your shoulders. Yes, you're still dealing with puberty and this, that, and that, and mixed emotions and all that stuff. But if you have the proper guidance system, common sense would be more common with you than not.
Yeah. I mean, you hear so many very interesting stories of people who started practicing very, very, very young. You know, you've lived your whole life in this practice. I am just curious what you like to do when you're not being a practitioner, when you're not being Afro Spiritual. What do you like?
I am a gamer.
Yeah.
Through and through. I play World of Warcraft with passion. I really do. I really do. That's literally like, I'm going to relax now. I'm going to play my character.
A lot of other practitioners seem to love games. I wonder why. I wonder what that pattern is of like why.
Maybe it's just because it's a different world, and for us it's like we're always in the humdrum of like, I'm trying to live in a monkey brained human world and I'm also existing in a like multiple other dimensions all at the same time and everything, and just interpreting information from this, that, and the other, and da. It's like I need to go into a world where that does not like exist for a second.
And I know what I'm doing, and if I mess up, I can just regenerate somewhere else.
Exactly. But I'm also a martial artist as well.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, I've been studying internal Chinese martial arts and Taoist philosophy for about 15 years.
Wow. That's a long
Yes,
time.
it's actually martial arts is what helped me a lot with understanding. Okay, this is where I get into the more like, what is that? Is that a, oh, that's Matt. What the hell? Where'd you come from? Anyway, but this is where I tell people that, look, learning your practice and the culture behind your practice and everything is one thing, but when you study energy itself,
That, yes.
that's where it goes much deeper.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks, oh, you're just one dimensional. And when you're in your craft, in your practice, and in your path, it's like you're just one dimensional. It's like, yeah, but eventually your path leads to studying energy itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what martial arts, that's what Taoist study and philosophy has helped me to understand. And through it, that's when basically I found out that I was like, oh, I have a natural knack for just transforming energy, transforming it from one nature to another and back and forth and in between. And what helps me with that and guiding that system and everything is understanding the Taiji, is understanding the Bakwa, is understanding the I Ching, it's understanding the 5-element system and all just element systems of other practices as well. And just understanding that, oh, this one nature, if I guide it gently, it will eventually become this other nature. If I guide it here, it becomes this nature, which helps me in my healing practice as well, because from my own senses, everyone's soul, like their energy mimics a certain phenomena in nature. It has like a texture, it mimics an element, even though we bear all the elements and things like that in us, but our souls makes us individuals, so we mimic one thing more than not.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I do healing, I'm like, oh, this is what's going on with you. You have an excess in this element and everything and whatnot. Okay, let's take this aspect of your soul and transform it and guide it. That way it's more complementary to the better whole. Set it, mend it, good. Keep it moving.
And next. I'm curious. I don't know. I think you said this on TikTok. Are you coming to YouTube? Are you going to join us here? I think
yes, yes, I am, because the announcement that I have with all that, I turned in my 3 weeks notice to my pool cleaning job today. My last day is June 11th. My schedule will be opening up Monday through Friday, reading and doing services from 9 to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. So I will have more time to go live, do live readings, even get on and work YouTube and everything, and actually have my weekends to myself to enjoy instead of doing readings. So yes.
Oh my God, that's so exciting. That's so
I will
exciting.
be taking, I'll be like, my schedule is open. So people who want to get scheduled now, Monday through Friday, like after June 11th, it's like, get in my Instagram DMs, get with me, get scheduled. That even opens up to be able to do, I'm going to say minor workings for people, because I'm still trying to get a work table for that in my place and everything.
Yeah, you need a lot of things to do.
Yeah. So,
or just multiple workings at all.
Yep. And that's my big announcement with that and everything, is that
awesome. I'm so excited for you.
It's been needing to happen for a while, because I've been existing in this new paradigm. And now it's just like, I'm existing in a new paradigm. I'm working at a job that is of the old paradigm. Right. It pays good. It does give good insurance, health insurance and everything. It's not lining with my spirit.
Right.
Pull the plug today, and the next thing you know, I've been seeing like double numbers and animal signs, and this sign and that sign and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I should have done this a long time ago.
Oh my God, that's so awesome. I'm really excited to start seeing like long form videos from you, because you have some really amazing information, and the way that you answer a lot of these questions, you really do answer them with compassion. And
I do my best to. People do be trying my patience. Sometimes I've been feeling my auntie trying to come out of me and everything. And I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, some of those questions, I'm like, he's so calm. I would be like, I would be lit right now, but yeah, you do have some really wonderful information, and I always learn something from you too.
That's
Which
because my Virgo moon, not my Virgo moon, my Libra moon.
oh,
I approach my emotions diplomatically.
you're rising.
I am a Taurus.
Oh, do you know what the Enneagram is? I ask everybody this.
The Enneagram.
hmm
Explain.
It's just like kind of like a personality thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
the way that I use the Enneagram, like everybody else uses astrology to kind of like better
Mm-hmm.
understand people. So I'm probably gonna send you the test just because I'm curious if you want to take
Ooh,
it.
okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, but I'm just curious. So, yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna end this one here for the main YouTube people, and
Mm-hmm.
then I have some exclusive questions my Patreons want to ask you personally. So I'm gonna move you.
Sure.
But thank you for watching for all of you out here, and if you're Patreons, then I will see you over there.
And that was my interview with Afro Spiritual. Thank you so much again for giving me your time and allowing me to pick your brain with all of the questions that I had. I'm really excited to see more of his content come to YouTube, but as I said in the beginning, everything is down below if you want to find him. That is all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed, and as always, best of luck, be kind to each other, and may your gods treat you as you've treated others. Bye.